While some film genres go in and out of fashion, social problem films never go out of style. This genre tends to be timeless because there are always social problems going on in the world that need to be discussed in film. Most social problem films are based on historical fact or involve a real person or event. Films in this genre must do this because the social issues mentioned in these films are based on real events happening in society at the time. Social problem films can often serve as an artistic form of a cry for help and a way to shed light on dark issues, making them extremely important for young people to learn about. The 1975 film, directed by Milos Forman, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, perfectly embodies what it means to be a social problem film. In the movie, the protagonist, Randall McMurphy, is given a short prison sentence and decides to have himself declared insane in order to be transferred to a mental institution where he thinks he will live in luxury. His experience in the institution is almost the exact opposite of what he initially expects. He makes real friendships there and has a problem with the way that the people are being treated, and always collides with Nurse Ratched, the major antagonist of the storyline. The main social complaint that this movie discusses is society's treatment against the individual, and more specifically has a lot to say about the mistreatment of people with mental disabilities because they do not fit into typical societal standards. With social problem films, and this one in particular, the emotions that the audience feels is what makes them understand the theme and hopefully eventually act on it to produce change. Filmmakers hope that we as audience members will feel enough emotion about the injustices in the movie that also exist in our own reality that we will go out and make a change. According to an Introduction to Film Genres by Lester Friedman, David Desser, Sarah Kozloff, Martha Nachemson, and Stephen Prince, social problem films blend two narrative modes. One, realism, to prove that the story and problem are authentic, and two, melodrama, to move the viewer to pity, outrage, and perhaps action. The realism in this movie is embedded into the mise-en-scène of the movie. Characters can be seen wearing clothing that is very simple, but normal for the time period. The simple costuming, along with the minimal makeup that characters have on, is important to the story because these characters represent real people in the world who are facing these same issues. The fact that the actors are normal-looking people portraying those victimized by society is a huge part of what makes this film realistic. This, along with the way that some of the characters speak, like McMurphy's bad language or Billy's stuttering, is very important for the audience to truly believe that there are real people out there going through the exact same thing as the actors on the screen. The set is also an extremely important piece of the mise-en-scène that helps move the plot along. The movie only takes place in the mental institution, which is important to the plot because the characters are essentially trapped inside. Whenever the mise-en-scène differs slightly, it is very noticeable and important in the plot. When McMurphy takes everyone fishing, the set changes for once, and the characters most definitely react to their change in environment. The mise-en-scène is very repetitive and simple throughout the movie in order to express how the characters go through the same events each and every day. The protagonists in social problem films obsess over the injustices they strive against, and there are clear antagonists as well. There is a constant push and pull between McMurphy and Nurse Ratched, and the tension is very built up. This tension finally explodes when McMurphy chokes Nurse Ratched near the end of the movie. These kinds of films reject the typical feel-good ending, but they want the audience to leave with a feeling of hope. Social problem films are about winning hearts and minds. When a social problem film succeeds in sending its audience out of the theater thinking, "I want to be part of the solution," it has done its job. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest does a great job of ending the film to leave the audience with just enough outrage and hope when McMurphy dies and Chief Brompton escapes. McMurphy is a symbol for all of the people that the government doesn't know what to do with, which is why his character had to die. At the same time, Chief Brompton symbolizes that social perceptions and stereotypes cannot be trusted. They mention the clear divide between the inside world of the institution and the outside world when they mention that, from the beginning, the idea of an open society is contrasted with the closed and fenced-off ward where the patients reside. The audience is meant to see a very clear difference between the two worlds, where McMurphy serves as a representation of the outside world. The authors also go into the importance of the cinematography of the film when they mention the way the audience is presented the institution. In the opening scene of the film, for example, the viewer is confronted visually when the contrast between a colorful landscape and the gray and gloomy set of the psychiatric institution. The gloomy set, along with the bland costuming, are utilized in order to make sure that the audience knows that the institution is a dark and sinister place where corruption is common. The film's style successfully attempts to set a general mood for the movie. What the audience sees on screen as far as dialogue and narrative tells them everything that they need to know about what the social problem is in this film. But the film style adds subtle details which further highlight all of the problems that are going on during the movie. The best way to solve many of the world's issues is not to silence social problem films when they have something important to say. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is a classic film that represents the genre and what the effects of a good social problem film can truly be, since so much has changed in the mental health field since the 1970s. Social problem films have time and time again sent out messages to the world about the issues that permeate our society and have caused a chain reaction of change because of it. Taking a stand against injustices in the world is entirely possible for young people like us to do. We just have to remain educated in any way that we can. Thank you.